Hey everybody, and welcome back to the One Piece Book Club. We are the One Piece Eggheads, reading One Piece by the book. That's right, one volume per week for the next 200 weeks, thereabouts, I have to assume. I am Monkey D. Jones, joined as always by the One Piece virgin who is popping his cherry. That's right, it's Eggy Eggman Rodriguez.
You know what? Call me Mr. Buggy Ball, because you know what? I just keep on rocking through and never stop, baby. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one shot from Eggy's load destroys 10 three-story houses. So you don't want to get hit by his buggy balls.
That's right.
For sure.
Shout out to the Pygeum bark extract, either way.
Today we are covering chapters, I believe, 9 through 17 of One Piece. Volume 2 of One Piece. We get to know Buggy the Clown, a certain dog named Chouchou, and I think a lion gets drilled into the ground head first. So there's a lot to cover. Eggy, as the One Piece virgin, as always, I'd like to start with you. What from this volume is at the top of your mind?
Well, I mean, I gotta keep it real. There was a lot to appreciate, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I was literally bawling. That is B-A-W-L, not B-A-L-L.
Oh, no.
Like usual. Oh my goodness. You know, there was, I think it might be from that Jurassic Bark PTSD, but with Chouchou and what happened with him and what he went through, in his fight against the Lion Tamer, I was literally, absolutely, I dropped to my knees. I was like this. My face was swollen and red from just the absolute emotion overcoming me. And I'm not even a dog guy, but there's something about it.
Yeah, as a cat man myself, the plight of Chouchou, and yeah, it is very much Jurassic Bark. What is the classic Japanese story about the guy and his dog who waited for him? Because I imagine most of these are inspired by that one. Digibro would know if he was still a human being that existed, because he talked about it all the time. Like in Pokemon, there is that scene where James lost his Growlithe, and it was very similar. But yeah, we do get the Chouchou storyline, but we'll get to that. What do you think of Buggy the Clown? Because we very much get to know him in this volume.
Well, I like him. I think, once again, having not actually watched this arc in the anime, you know, I'm kind of just putting to like certain voices that I haven't heard. I'm kind of just imagining in my head, and you know, I'm kind of getting like you know, a little. I'm giving him Joker, but I'm not giving him like Joaquin Joker. I'm giving him like Batman Beyond kind of Joker.
Mm-hmm. Kind of whimsical and yeah. Wacky Joker.
Kind of a voice like this.
Sure.
Like, oh, you dared to cross me. I don't do it as good as it sounds in my head, but something like that.
I think, first of all, Buggy is the second character we meet with the devil fruit power, Eggy. I mean, as far as I could tell from the 2 books we've read in the last 2 weeks. And what I think is very interesting is Oda, the writer, in case somebody doesn't know that, he doesn't tell you what Buggy's power is, he just tells you that he has one. So when his insecurity about his nose comes into play, and he's not wearing a clown nose, that is evidently biologically his real nose that he's very insecure about. He's like, when the guy says robber nose and Buggy thinks he said rubber nose, he's force choking him, and we have no idea what is happening. What was your thought when you see Buggy just hanging out on his chair, leaning back, and the dude's being force choked up in the air?
Well, I'm thinking that his power must be something like a telekinesis. I don't think is the right word. Maybe it is. But yeah, something like that where he can control things with his mind. And then maybe I could have thought to myself, okay, so the clown persona, yeah, it would make sense for it to be built around the nose, kind of like how Joaquin built Joker around his laugh that he couldn't control.
That's right.
Sort of making the best, or I should say, not make. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but turning a weakness into a strength or a slight, and kind of you know, and building up a defense around that.
Well, it is very Batman, because Batman was afraid of bats, and that's why he embraced it. You know, maybe Buggy is Joker and Batman mixed together in some ways.
So how could you not like him, right?
Yeah. And then later on, when Zoro literally, not even bisects, he trisects this man. I don't even know if that's a word. He chops him into 3 pieces. And the chapter ends with like, Buggy has just been killed and his crew is laughing. What did you think when you saw that? Like, at that point, do you have a reevaluation of what his power might be? Or did you think Zoro fucking killed him?
I mean, I could see it both ways because I strongly suspected that something else was about to occur because I didn't think they were going to start off a volume like that. But yeah, I've been blindsided before, so things could have changed. I could have seen them enjoying his death because they're like, oh, hey, you know, we kind of like in the previous volume with Mr. Pinkhair, who I've, you know, my memory's not
Kobe?
great. Yeah, Kobe, kind of like overthrowing his leader. You know, maybe their leader being overthrown could have given them more opportunity, or maybe they could have taken his share of the treasure. There would have been, you know, reasons maybe why they would want him gone that we might not have fully understood yet. But that was not where my mind went. My mind went, yeah, okay, there's got to be more to it. Or, you know, I did strongly suspect a reconnecting of body parts, but I wasn't sure how it might happen. You know, it could have been like, there's some media where somebody gets chopped up and then there's like ooze that like pulls them back together, like the dark force, the dark mana or something. But yeah, I wasn't expecting entirely how it did come together though.
And without me explaining it, I want to see how well the author has done. What is your understanding of Buggy's power?
Well, I think that from what we see further on in the volume, that he just has, he doesn't suffer from losing body parts, and that he can also willfully allow these body parts to come and go from his being. I don't know if there's maybe like a central force. Once again, this volume, you know, spoiler alert, ends a little inconclusively for this, but
it is an intriguing final cliffhanger at the end, though, which I'm excited for us to get to. But
because I think like I think of like Soul Calibur, maybe the final boss is not Nightmare. I can't remember what, because there's also a fighter named Nightmare, but I can't remember if in the original Soul Blade. Whatever the case is, the idea is that there's like a central energy core, basically, or like a central core of power with which these parts are attuned to. So this allows these parts to be lost and brought back, these parts to be used as weapons or to have them sent away from the center of energy, but they're attuned and they're always going to return to the center of energy. So I could see that having a possible thing here is for how he's able to do these and able to survive these certain attacks and able to do these certain attacks.
And I think just everything about Buggy's chop power here is so brilliant in terms of how you're structuring the story of where we are right now at the beginning. When Zoro, like you have the dude who has 3 swords, you know, like of course he's going to chop up the dude, and that's how you show off his powers, that he can get chopped up. So just on every level, you know, Oda, he creates this mystery for the audience, and he plays with us for a few chapters before exposing it, and he's just getting started with that sort of thing. So just any random wacky thing that happens, you just have to imagine one day maybe it might get explained. That's kind of the One Piece motto. Anything else about Buggy? I guess
well, you know, I guess something that stood out to me too is that he has this devil fruit power, and he can do things like detach his hand and have it fly off. I'm not sure. I don't think he did that for that original transgression where he was doing the force choke. That seemed to be purely like spirit, pure energy.
No, whose hand was choking him? Because then later he does the same thing to the mare Boodle.
Yep.
And it's the exact same thing, but this time we can see the hand.
Yeah, I think maybe that, maybe the way I was reading it, but before having his power mildly explained, it kind of, you know, I kind of might have just put it together in my mind, made an assumption that it was some kind of like spirit or energy thing. But the fact that his primary source of destruction is the cannonballs, and that he's like the master cannoneer, that's what his legacy is, at the same time as having the devil fruit power. So I thought that was interesting. Nami
calls him like a cannon happy buccaneer, which I thought was interesting. She called him a buccaneer of all things. He's a very shallow character. Like, he thinks somebody mocked him, so he'll just literally murder one of his own crewmates. Like, juxtaposed with Zoro, like, risking his life to carry a fucking iron cage on his back to save Luffy, and then we have Buggy just blowing up his own men for no reason. Buggy's concept of treasure is there's no such thing as sentimental treasure. He says if it's not gold or jewels, if it doesn't shine and make you look like a king, it's not treasure. So Buggy, he's a sad, broken man with no sentimental love, no love for his own crewmates who should be his family. They're just the circus that I guess he gets to party with. So as evil and bad as Buggy is, I do kind of feel bad for him so far.
Yeah, I know. Who'd ever want to be like some large, grotesque man that just loves to drink and blow things up, you know?
And he's just taking over a small village. Like, they don't even have treasure to plunder. He's just having fun destroying it because it makes him feel powerful. So, just what a pathetic man. How do you hope Luffy defeats Buggy the Clown?
Well, I would say, I don't think we've seen a lot of promise for this yet, but it would be nice to kind of expand on what you're just saying, that maybe he could be shown the error of his ways. We have so far Zoro was the pirate hunter, but he's, made a concession to be with Luffy now. Nami, she is absolutely detests pirates more than anything. And, we could see as the volume progresses, well, we kind of go back and forth on, where her mind is at. But I think overall that she finds...
She says that she lost somebody to pirates. And Luffy's like, oh, yeah, I get that. I don't want to hear about it. Don't tell me the story, but I get it.
Yeah, so I think you could see that Luffy has, unique qualities, perhaps, compared to the pirates that she's familiar with. And maybe we could see if Buggy is defeated non-lethally, perchance, in combat, perhaps, maybe. Maybe you could say, Luffy, maybe he'll enlighten him in that there are greater things in the world than just material goods.
Well, that is a good prediction. We're going to get Talk No Jutsu to defeat Buggy the Clown. Let's hope so. Anything else with Buggy? I guess we should cover the last thing, which is the very end of Volume 2, Buggy says, oh, that straw hat that you wear reminds me of that no-good red hair guy. And Luffy's like, wait, what? What is your take on this?
Well, once again, we see with the shallowness of Buggy's personality and characters, we can observe it in what we know from the first volume and just sort of the spades of character that Shanks had in his appearance there. I could see there being a conflict between the two, or some sort of clashing energies if they'd had come face to face or interacted with each other prior in their pirating careers, and maybe
Shanks does have big scars on his eyes. Maybe Buggy the Clown did that to him. He's got the hand floating around with a knife, Poor Zoro got stabbed in the back. Maybe he fought Shanks.
Yeah, it could have been a sort of in the same way that the second crewmate, once again, get a little ahead of myself maybe here, but he attacked Zoro with a stab in the back. As I recall, or was it the floating
Buggy's
hand?
floating hand stabbed him, and then later on, Kabaji, the acrobat, kept kicking him in the wound.
Right. So the original, kind of blindside stab in the back, was from Buggy's floating hand. So I could see, in theory, in my mind, interaction where Shanks observes Buggy being like, "Oh, I'll kill anybody for gold, and the human life is worthless," and you "Oh, that's how you feel. That's sad. I wouldn't ever want to be pathetic like that, big nose or something like that," and kind of walks away from him, and all of a sudden, whoa, and then the hand floats up from behind and maybe gets him from the side or something in his eye, my face is messed up, now yours is too, or whatever, something like that. I could see that being a possible outcome.
And he recognizes the straw hat from Shanks, which we know Shanks gave to Luffy, 10 years ago. So Buggy and Shanks must have known each other a long time ago, if he recognized him with the hat. Any final thoughts on Buggy before we move on to either Chouchou or Zoro? Because goddamn, Zoro is badass in this book.
That's for sure. I think we've probably covered him pretty good. I'm definitely interested to see where things are going in the beginning of Volume 3, because once again, just like last time, another serious cliffhanger with that. But
yeah, cliffhanger. We get they're setting up the final fight for Luffy and Buggy. All of the other crewmates have been disposed of. That time for the epic final clash, and maybe some lore about Shanks. Zoro really goes through it here. he gets stabbed in the back. He has to carry like the 2-ton fucking cage on his back. He can't cut the bars of this iron cage, but he can carry it, so that's good enough. He's napping in a house that gets exploded by a buggy ball. He fights Cabbagey and he keeps getting kicked in his wound, so he takes his fucking sword and just, is this enough of a handicap for you? And he slashes his own wound even deeper. Just badass moment after badass moment. And maybe we'll skip to this now because we want to do our Straw Hat Pirates, ranking. In this book, has Zoro passed Luffy as your favorite?
Well, I was definitely impressed with his tenacity in the situation for sure. I thought as each of these panels is coming across, the first kick to the wound from Cabbagey, the second, I'm thinking like he's about to just like go down, like maybe he's gonna just be like knocked unconscious, something else is about to happen. And then when he comes through and he cuts himself, and then he's like, I'm tired, and Cabbagey goes, don't worry, I'll end you here. And he goes, I'm fine, I'm good, but I'm tired of you. I'm like, damn.
And kills him in one hit.
Yeah, I'm like, I might have underestimated his power coming into Volume 1 perchance.
Yeah, I think Volume 2 really shows that Zoro is superhuman in strength, because Luffy's flying and flies through a building. Of course he's okay, he can bounce back literally. But Zoro, he has no devil fruit power. He's just like a tough dude. He survives a house exploding around him and he's just fine. He just woke him up from a nap. And Cabbagey is just so far below him, and he takes it so non-seriously as a threat that, yeah, like, fuck it, I'll slash myself, dude. Like, you think you're gonna stop me? And he does beat him with one onigiri, I think is how they pronounce it. And it's interesting that Zoro says, hey, if you call yourself a swordsman, I have to beat you. I cannot lose to anybody who calls himself that. Even though this dude is not fighting like a swordsman. He's like right. Just cheap shots nonstop. He's unicycling up a building and shit. Not really swordsmanship. But my question to you, Eggy, do you think Zoro will stay true to this pledge? If somebody calls himself a swordsman, I cannot lose to him.
Well, I can't, in all good conscience, this part of the story, believe that he is the ultimate swordsman that just simply cannot lose to anybody. I mean, I'm sure there's ways in the future that he might learn the strengths and weaknesses of somebody who had victory over him, and then come back and employ new tactics. So I guess you could overall count that as victory. But I think that there's certainly, once we reach the grand line, there's got to be somebody out there who has more of a veteran abilities and some greater knowledge of swordsmanship.
But wouldn't losing a pirate duel just result in death? Like, can he lose? Wouldn't he be killed?
I think, generally speaking, yes, but I could see something like, let's say he's about to, has a horrible wound and the duel's about to, there's an execution coming, all of a sudden, a giant tentacle comes and like breaks the ship in half or whatever, and all of a sudden, I've got a chance to survive now and recover, and I'll never lose after this, this is, I'll meet you again. But for all I know, man, maybe something greater happens, or maybe he just never loses. But
hey,
yeah,
he says he's never going to lose. He beat all his teachers when he was 6. I believe in him. I think Zoro might have a chance of never losing. And
I think even like in this fight that he's experiencing these circus-based attacks, these trickster moves. He may have never seen these particular kinds of moves before. They might not do any great damage to him in this fight, but he's seeing something he hasn't seen before. He's taking in this combat knowledge, and that could also enhance his abilities without him having to lose overall in the fight as well. So there is that angle.
Was there anything else intriguing about Zoro here?
I think it was Nami's reaction to this is Zoro the pirate hunter, and he's basically putting his own life on the line quite significantly to assist Luffy, who vocally says, yeah, I'm gonna be king of the pirates. I think there's a panel where she's she kind of comes to the realization of all that. And also when Luffy, I think it's in this volume that she hears him saying about how he wants to be a pirate when he's captured, and she's deciding to turn him into Buggy to kind of save herself. She's like, it's just a pirate anyway, death to all pirates.
Yeah, let's transfer to Nami then. That's a good transition because Nami has a lot of interesting character conflict internally here. She hates pirates because I guess they took somebody who's close to her. Now she just has a blanket hatred for all of them, and she only wants to steal from them. She makes it very clear. I steal from pirates. I would not loot these random civilians whose houses have been sieged. I only steal from pirates. And when Luffy hears that, he's like, "Oh, fuck that! Like I don't want to join you to steal from pirates. Fuck that." And then she fucking tricks him, ties him up, and hands him over to Buggy. Do you think Nami can be trusted? Is she always going to just look out for herself?
I think through this volume, I don't believe that she's fully trustworthy yet, is where we're at, is in the conclusion of chapter 17, because we're seeing with how he, we'll get to Chouchou and everything, but just some of his moral standings that she observes and like what he's willing to do for the people that he considers his friends or who he believes in. I think that does have a positive impact on her throughout the volume, but I don't think that I would consider her to be fully trustworthy yet because, pulling that. I mean, she wasn't willing to kill him because when Buggy aims the cannon right at Luffy as he's caged up after she helped get him turned in, captured. He goes, all right, time to kill him. And she goes, well, no, I just can't kill him because that would make me just as bad as these pirates. I don't want to do that.
And one of my favorite scenes in this volume is when she puts out the fuse with her bare hands. Like, she's willing to severely burn herself, no care for herself, to save Luffy, who's about to be blown the fuck up. But evidently, I mean, judging by the gum balloon, maybe Luffy would have been okay if he got hit with that buggy ball. It seems like they might just bounce right off of him. So I love that when Nami burns her hands on the fuse. I love when Zoro flips the cannon over and shoots it at the buggy pirates. And then Nami, she later, when they escape, she steals the key to the cage, but not the map to the Grand Line or the treasure. So that it seems like a little bit of development for her already. Like, I'll not go from my goal to help these guys because they seem different and good.
That's a fair point. I guess the way that I read it was that she just couldn't. Maybe this was just her like still figuring herself out with her relation to Luffy. But I kind of thought she just went like, oh, well, I could get at the key. I couldn't get at the other treasure that was still too deep. That had like too much defense behind it. But I got this anyway, so we can kind of get ourselves together here and get our next plan. And then our good friend Chouchou, he says, oh, you got a little hunger. Down. The key gets dropped, set aside to open the cage, and Chouchou just comes and sits down and gobbles it right up.
It's so much comedy in all of these chapters, and I just love their reactions. And Luffy literally choking this dog, like, spit it out, that's not food. It's very good. And then one other Nami point. When Chouchou's store gets burned down, and she just goes back to her blanket hatred of pirates and assumes Luffy is not responsible, but like, oh, you're a pirate and pirates did this, you're just like them, fuck you, Luffy. And he doesn't even defend himself at all. He ignores her. He says, oh, you're no match for me, I'd beat the shit out of you. And he just goes and hangs out with the dog and gives him the food. And Nami has like another moment where she realizes she was wrong to judge Luffy, and she does apologize. So that was very good. Should we talk about Chouchou? Is there what else is there to say? It's a very simple story, but
so when Chouchou kind of appears there, as they had just gotten away, Buggy had the cannon flipped on him and his men. They used that the chaos from that firing to escape. Zoro had the cage with Luffy on it. He's hauling it all the way. They're getting out of there, and then this very stern-looking dog who's just strangely calm and stoic is there. I thought, as soon as that was coming up, I thought that was going to be some kind of distraction or trick that had been sent, because they're talking about the first mate, the lion tamer, but maybe he had greater beast control outside of the lion. He
seems to think that he does. He says, I can control any animal, and then Chouchou bites him immediately.
So yeah, that was when he first was in those first couple of panels. I was like, okay, now what's the trick now? What kind of illusion is being played here? But The only illusion was that my eyes were going to stay dry throughout the next couple chapters. We speak on the story of, and we could talk about the mayor here too. He kind of plays in at the same time as Chouchou, but
I like that in the flashback, they make fun of the mayor. Like he said, "Oh, your business is struggling. I'll buy some pet food," and they're laughing like, "Oh, just because you look like an animal doesn't mean you have to eat like one."
Right.
Like just so cruel to somebody who's trying to help you. I appreciated that. But yeah, the poor owner of the pet food store dies of illness, and for 3 months, even before Buggy the Clown and the pirates came, that dog was standing guard at the shop. So, continue. I think I interrupted you.
Well, so yeah, the mayor's kind of in there at the same time. He explains that as you mentioned, that's what Chouchou is standing guard there for. That's the story and why they shouldn't be strangling him, trying to get the key out of him. There's not too much.
He had no good reason to eat that key. That dog deserved a little choking.
Yeah, discipline is always, needs to be employed sometimes in the right situations. But I guess the mayor's development kind of comes a bit after the Chouchou incident. So Chouchou, he's there standing guard. The lion tamer pulls up with, I think, Ritchie
Ritchie, yep.
The lion, and quite a fearsome lion, I would say, as well.
Evidently, this lion is stronger than Zoro's swords. Like, how the fuck did the lion break the cage when Zoro could not cut... Like, even Luffy biting on the bar was kind of chipping it down a little bit. So either Zoro's blades are dog shit, or this lion is just unbelievably strong. Which I guess he did paw Luffy through a building, but still.
Right. I'd probably have to go for the strength angle, and I think, maybe it doesn't matter a lot, but I think when he strikes the cage and breaks it, he does kind of come from the top of the cage.
Kind of smashes it.
So that might have been a weaker point than the bars for it to be broken open, possibly, but... Yeah, impressive lion to tame. Yeah, for the size and strength of it, and it's just like traveling with the pirates. I gotta
even then,
that.
Later on, Kabaji uses Ritchie the lion as a shield from the buggy ball that got ballooned back. So, is that like power scaling? Or are we supposed to think, okay, this lion is super strong, it could break the cage that Zoro couldn't break, but then this other guy is so strong he could just use the lion as a shield, and now Zoro has to fight that guy, but he just kills him in one hit. So. I guess it's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and
like
then,
lion beats Cage, but Cage beats Zoro, and Zoro.
In the panel where he's holding the lion up as a shield, it looks. I mean, maybe it's because of the damage of the buggy ball.
He did get fucked up by Luffy as well.
But yeah, like he looks a bit less menacing the way that he's presented. Yeah. He kind of looks like a stuffed animal that got beat.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he never looks as menacing as he did in that one chapter ever again. I think every Ritchie appearance will be a little more cartoony. And I've noticed just like the art style seems so different. I feel like in these early days, Oda was like in his early 20s. I don't know, man. It feels like there's a lot more scribbling in the new chapters, whereas every single thing on the panel feels like it was so much attention to the details. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to Oda's art style. I like them both, but it is very distinctly different from what it is today.
It gets maybe, without having read anything new, but maybe like a little more noise for like, because you kind of start off, you're having the tang of the sword, you're having the thwomp of the paw, and then maybe things have advanced so much that, not that this is like a cop-out for less attention to detail or whatever, but, now maybe you have like, super giga something, and it's like it's so powerful that it's like rippling time and space, and everything's like wow, versus like ding, ding, ding. Now it's like
yeah, maybe the fights get so complicated and crazy that maybe he can't manage to put that much. Yeah, you might be right. I don't know. I hear Shoji screaming in the hallway, so it's distracting me. So we got Mayor Boodle. And him and all the townspeople, they have a refugee camp because Buggy's destroying all their shit. And he decides enough is enough. They burn down Chouchou's store. I've had it with these pirates. I know this isn't smart, but I'm going to go fight him. He's got tears in his eyes. He's marching off. And Luffy says, what? Tears? I didn't see any tears. That's not what I saw, Nami. That's a man who's determined. He's not crying. I thought that was pretty cool from Luffy. Mm-hmm. One other Luffy moment that if I'm gonna ever make a video like top 10 most underrated Luffy moments, it's gotta be when he's in the cage and he calls out Buggy's nose. The one thing you're not supposed to do, Luffy does it. And so Buggy shoots his hand at him with the knife. Luffy catches the blade in his teeth and fucking breaks it in half. That is badass. Catching a knife in your mouth. So yeah, wait for that. That's going on the top 10 list.
Yeah, because I was concerned, when the blades was building from the last episode when we talked about Volume 1, and we suppose that Sharp is Luffy's main weakness. So when he's caged like that and I see a blade going at him, and not knowing the extent of Buggy's power, I was like, something could happen here. But overall, Luffy was able to handle himself perfectly.
And to conclude the mare boodle of it, what do you think of Luffy ultimately just knocking him out himself and saying, yeah, I'm not going to let you fight?
Yeah, I agree. I think Zoro says that he would be better off unconscious and out of the way. And Luffy even says, yeah, I'm just getting him out of the way.
Yeah, he's in the way.
Because he was on that martyrdom path, basically. He's like, I've been here for 40 years, and very unlikely he was going to do any real damage to maybe like a single one of Buggy's crew he could have, but overall very unlikely since he was like 70 years old. So.
Yeah, he's an old man. Is there anything else from Volume 2? We might have covered everything, and we've only gone for 30 minutes, but you know what? We don't need to go an hour on this show, Eggy.
Well,
we're here to just talk about One Piece.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the fight against the Lion Tamer, we see the first iteration. I don't know if it's something that's continuous. The Gum Gum Gabble.
Sure, yeah.
Where he
just likes to name his attacks.
Yeah, he basically twists his arms and, a spiral grabs on the line and
then like spin drills him into the ground. That's pretty cool. And then I like the panel when Kabaji's like, I give up, and Luffy says, nah, and you burn down the store, you're done. And he, I love how bloody and just raw that is. And when I was a kid, I didn't really understand what was happening, so my interpretation of the panel was that Luffy was stomping his face in, but no, it's just like you kind of see like the impact up here and then the result down here. I didn't really understand.
Yeah, just like the single like trail of blood like coming out of his nose from the impact.
Yeah, I thought it was like Luffy's foot going through his face. I was like, Jesus, that's brutal. But he survives this well enough to get back to Buggy with just enough energy to say, beware the rub, and then he can't finish saying rubber man, and they interpreted that Luffy is a masseuse, and he gave him a horrible massage. That was also good. It's lots of great comedy. What do you think of the humor in One Piece so far? Did you know it was basically a comedy going in?
Well, I don't think that I did. I mean, I knew it wasn't like a dark drama, but I didn't
Not
really.
Yet.
Yeah, I suspected that it was going to be a little bit more like light and bright overall. Obviously, I knew there was going to be fighting, but I didn't. Yeah, it's probably been more humor than I would have originally anticipated. Yeah.
Do we have any predictions for Volume 3 or beyond?
Well, I'm going to guess that it's probably going to be a few chapters with the Buggy fight. It could be a lot more like right out of the gate. Maybe the first 2 chapters the fight's over with, and then they're on to like the Grand Line. But I feel like it's going to progress that way. That there's going to be a fight with Buggy. We know he has the map to the Grand Line, so I feel like that's got to be, or maybe at least we're going to be towards the second half of Volume 3, trending in the direction of traveling towards the Grand Line. I guess I could see another fight, another meeting of a pirate captain with another crew and something else transpiring on the way. Maybe they're not going to get to the Grand Line so fast, but at least I think they're going to probably, that's Volume 3, the Buggy fights, boom, all right, and then starting to head the direction of the Grand Line.
Well, with your idea of Luffy kind of changing Buggy's heart and making him care about something and maybe change his mind about destroying this town, is there any chance Buggy joins Luffy's crew? Anything could happen. You're the One Piece virgin. What do you know? Maybe Buggy's the second in command for the rest of the story, Eggy. Could it be?
Once again, just from secondhand exposure to like One Piece references in the wild and things like that.
Maybe my One Piece posters that are hanging up in my house that have all the main characters on it that doesn't have Buggy.
Kind of the same thing with Kobe, like you know how he was the star in the first episode of the anime, or I shouldn't say star, but had such a large presence, which then dissipates.
He probably has more dialogue than Luffy in episode 1, so I'd say he probably is the star.
Yeah.
So Luffy's gonna defeat Buggy somehow. Nami, perhaps reluctantly, or maybe she'll have a change of heart as well. You know, they're gonna go about their way, get this map, and perhaps fight another pirate captain. That is your theory for Volume 3.
Okay, here's what I'll say too, because we did suppose a little earlier in this, talking about this volume, that maybe Buggy could have a slight change of heart based on the contrast and morals between him and Luffy, or him and Shanks, and maybe he makes a connection. Oh, Shanks, yeah, this is his hat, and let's say there's a fight. Let's say there's some change of heart concluding after the fight. Maybe he might decide. Maybe Luffy says, "Oh, hey, we'll spare you, or we're not going to totally kill you. Help us. If you're going to have a change of heart, give us that map, and you're going to help us get towards the Grand Line." So maybe he might be with them up until that point, then maybe he goes about his way. I could see that being a possibility as well.
Yeah, because Luffy and Zoro are traveling in a little dinghy, so surely they can't just go in this little tiny boat forever. And didn't we see Buggy like with a some sort of big like clown tent boat ship?
Yep. Yeah, I think
maybe they could take Buggy's ship.
Yeah, I think that was at the conclusion of Volume 1. I think they have the ship depicted there, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, Luffy does need a big ship, so maybe they could take Buggy's. Buggy has taken so much from this town, it's about time somebody took from him.
Yeah, maybe he has a real change of heart, and he says, "Let me help you rebuild. I'll stay here. Luffy, you take the ship to the Grand Line."
Could be. We might find out in Volume 3. And if I recall, the Gaimon chapter is in Volume 3. I'm almost certainly positive, so I'm looking forward to the Gaimon chapter, one of my favorites. It's coming up. And have you decided who you like better between Luffy and Zoro? And I don't think we should include Nami yet, because she's not officially joined the crew as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, I definitely have a greater appreciation for Zoro. I think now, not that he did great work in Volume 1, but in Volume 2, just like I mentioned earlier, his strength is so much more apparent. So I have to respect that. So he's a level up. But I just, Luffy, he's just kind of...
He has that moment with Chouchou. Like, Zoro has, like, the badass stuff, but Luffy has, like, almost sentimentally badass stuff. So, yeah, it's hard to put Zoro over Luffy still, I think.
I think it touched me a little more, the whole Chouchou situation. As much as I appreciated Zoro's badassery, I think I'm going to have to give Luffy the top billing for Volume 2.
And, I don't know... Did Luffy seem like he was talking to the dog and could understand what he was saying? Like he's like, the dog's like barking back and Luffy's responding like they're talking. So he's got a good connection with animals. I dig it. I love my cats and I talk to them as well. I think that might be it for Volume 2. One other thing, I guess, even though it's pointless, and we probably will forget to do this next time, as we should, but should we rank the volumes? What was better, Volume 1 or Volume 2?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Volume 1. I think still, just for the establishing everything. I didn't dislike what transpired. I think there was a good. I think more so the Captain Morgan and the Marines. I think I like that portion a little more than Kobe on the ship with Lady.
Well, that was all in Volume 1 anyway.
Yeah. So, so I think with the establishing of the story and then the Captain Morgan situation in Volume 1, I think it's going to strengthen that a little bit more versus as cool as the Lion Tamer and Kabuji were. I think that I got a little more out of the first volume at this point. So
good chance that when we do the arc tier list next time, Orange Town will rank below Romance Dawn for you.
Yes.
We'll have to see how it ends, though. There's still a couple chapters to go. Maybe it'll change your mind. But for the One Piece eggheads, the One Piece book club, and whatever other names we have on here, I think we're done for Volume 2. So I have been Mumkey D. Jones. Eggy, what do you want to plug this week?
Well, yo ho ho, rumble.com/C/Eggy Whites. I've streamed like 12 or 13 times in the last 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. I'm going to keep at it. So we got plenty of gaming, retro gaming, fast car, GTA Online, MMOs, and a lot of groovy stuff besides that. So tap in. On the road to 1,000 followers, because people don't like Rumble as much as other sites. So 1,000.
I'd be surprised if they have 1,000 users total. So you might have every single person following you on there.
I will say, because I was kind of pondering my statistics, and when I went to go look at like the Rumble Reddit, I'm doing significantly better than a lot of people. Even though because it's a smaller pool, but I got.
Hey, I used to be the PewDiePie of Vanilla. You can be the PewDiePie of Rumble.
That's right.
We'll take over all the alternative websites. We'll see you next week for Volume 3. I don't remember what chapters they are. Look them up. And I think Gaimon will be there, so look forward to it. See you.
Oh, peace.